In dealing with fractions in school, if you learned them, you learn how to divide fractions. For example, 2/3 divided by 3/4. You learn the rule invert and multiply. So it's 2/3 times 4/3, which would be 8/15. So let's do that. Let's see if that really works with this calculator. Let's take 2/3, divide by 3/4, and hit equals, and sure enough we get, 8/9. Let's see if I should have been a 9 down there. I made a mistake. See, this is the, calculators are great. This was 2 times 4 was 8, 3 times 3 was 9. I made the mistake. It's really 8/9. I love to use a calculator to do all kinds of math because it's less likely to make a careless error like that unless you enter the numbers wrong. So this is how you can deal with fractions. And you can multiply fractions, 3/4 times 8/17. Now we've learned that it's the numerator times the numerator. That'll be 24. 4 times 17, if you could do that in your head, is, what is that? I think that's 68. I'm not very good at doing math in my head. And then you want to reduce this to lowest terms. That'd be 12 over 34. That'd be 6 over 17. So 6/17 ought to be the answer unless I've made a mistake, which is very likely, by the way, as you all know from watching me do this. But let's try it. Let's take 3/4 multiplied times 8/17 and see what we get. My goodness, 6/17. I actually did it right, believe it or not. But that's the answer, and it gives it to you in reduced form. So you can add fractions, you can multiply them, you can divide them, and you can deal with improper fractions. By the way, once you got that answer, what do you do to convert it to decimal form? What did I tell you earlier? Well, you hit the second key and hit this arrow, and that'll convert it to decimal, to a 0.353. And then if you do that and hit it back, it'll convert it back, 6/17. So that is really kind of a neat thing to know. This is how you deal with fractions. Now we could go ahead and do things. I will tell you one thing. The largest denominator this thing will take is 999. So for example, let's put in 57, and then let's put in, try to put in 1,000. 100, and when you hit the next 0, nothing happens. The largest number you can put in, and I'm going to back, this arrow, by the way, always backs up a number that you're putting in, and this works for any kind of calculation. I don't think I told you that earlier. This key down here lets you undo one entry you've put in. So let's put in 999, and that'll take that. And in fact, in terms of decimals, that would be 0.057, back to fractions. But you can't, and then it reduced it. Now when I brought it back, it reduced it to its lowest common terms at 19 over 33. I had by accident put in something that wasn't in lowest common terms. So this is a wonderful thing to know. 5 and 7/8 multiplied times 2 and 3/4 is equal to 16 and 5/32, or in decimal terms, 16.156. It's just that easy to work with fractions. I encourage you to play with this. If you have to deal with fractions in some problem you're doing, learn how to do it, and you'll be able to deal with fractions very easily with these, it's these 2 keys and actually these 4 functions here. You've got this key and then the 2 yellow things above these 2 keys, and it lets you do everything you need to know as long as you're not dealing with fractions that are too large denominators. One last thing I'll tell you is kind of interesting. Let's take 1/3. I did this the other day, and let's convert that to decimals, and it's 0.333. And then if I convert it back, it goes back to 1/3. Now, let's say I put in 0.333, and then I can want to hit this, convert it to a fraction. It doesn't convert it back to, it didn't convert it back to a fraction because it wasn't perfect. Let me show you another thing. I'll put in 0.33. Well, let me do it this way. 1/3, that's a fraction. And let me convert that to a decimal. Now, if I fix that to 2 decimal places, 0.33, you might think, well, that's the answer. So now I'll take 0.33, and I will try to convert that to a fraction, and what it gives me is 33/100ths, because 0.33 was only an approximation of 1/3. 1/3 is actually 0.33333 forever. And so this calculator understands that, and when you put in the approximation 0.33, it gives you 33/100ths. Now, the reason it didn't give you 33/1000ths is that 999 is the maximum thing you have in the denominator, and so it just doesn't give it to you. So that's another little fact to know about fractions. And I went through this kind of quickly. What you really need to do is just play with it and play with a lot of problems. And if you've got a friend that you're working with, give each other problems to do. And it's amazing now how easily you can deal with fractions. So if you come across a situation where you're given a measurement in fractions, you can easily convert it to a decimal or back again. So this is Dr. Dell signing off, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.